So, Nilog, I am making this log or vlog because I was thinking a bit more about vlogging and business and how it sort of makes sense for me to look at blogging like it, just if you're wondering what that noise is a business process because it's kind of like relating to my thoughts on YouTube Short and how that's kind of like Short's like using your IT competitively and just using it creatively in order to like I guess socialize in a positive way that is good for business. And like I don't know. I feel like business and philosophy are super related and interconnected and things. And if you can theorize your way to profitability and have like you know as a business owner and have your business become profitable because of the theories that you've developed over time in relation to your business uh sound like based on sound reasoning and that allows you to do things like leverage IT competitively in a way that is good for business. I misplaced that 20 sided dice. I don't know where it went to. Just if you're wondering what the fuck I'm doing. But I feel like hypnosis is super interesting to me because it's like everything psychological is sort of hypnotic in nature if it's related to linguistics because I feel like the sensory impressions you have in a visio-temporal sense as a human being, like the imagery you can sense in your mind's eye or in your imagination when you're utilizing hypnosis is pretty related to the linguistics in your mind, the psycholinguistics, the words that you can perceive in your psychology. Like even these words that I'm looking at in OBS, like along the title bar, like far away to view, those are words in my psychology, and so I regard them technically as psycholinguistics because sort of like everything goes through the senses, and so it makes sense when you think about cognition and how it works, you know, with things like substitution and grouping and things like that, how you can look at a page on a book and depending on where your mind's at that moment in time, like the thoughts going through your mind, the actual thoughts, like what you perceive on that page, you may relate to it differently depending on how your mind's activated when you're looking at it. And I feel like with reading, you can develop a good understanding or a better understanding of reading in a way that allows you to basically read at the pace you actually are able to in terms of being a human being with a brain that has evolved over a long period of time as a species, like as a human. Like that inherited brain and its complexity, like the brain, like a literate human can look at a page and work out what's going on with thought pretty quickly. I mean, when you think about how quickly and naturally information flows through discourse, it's like quite a quick flow. And I do really think about saccades and how quickly you can scan a page and syntactically, grammatically, informationally, these things are organized innately in such a way that your brain can process them at very rapid rates, I feel like. And so it's probably, I feel like in my theory of reading, more important to engage with the hypnotic impressions in your mind when you're looking at a text. And I sort of feel like your body is doing something that's kind of like stochastic gradient descent in like a machine learning sense, where it's kind of like your psychology is urging you towards thinking thoughts along certain lines based on the information in your environment. So when you're looking at a book, like you're thinking the thoughts in your head, like when you're looking at some text for a reason, um, because of the stimuli and because of how you relate to it as a human being with a life experience. And yeah, I think it's possible to probably read along those lines. I've been doing it for a while, and it makes sense. Like reading carefully and slowly at certain points in time makes sense as well. It's just yeah, I prefer to read quickly. Like when I'm looking at papers, I don't really take like an hour on a paper. I just sort of like look for interesting parts and look for parts that stand out to me. But yeah, also though note taking is pretty good when you want to really integrate information from text. Probably writing by hand as well, like the mechanical motion and the effort you put into it. It's just so natural. I feel like writing with a pen is so powerful. Like as a technology, it's like conceptually a hyper technology potentially. If such a technology exists, when you think about it, you're wielding a physical object in order to arrange matter. And informationally, that's pretty interesting. I just wonder about software development and how far that can go. And like, with psychedelics in the equation, like who knows really? It's just like in the past there were wizards and mages and stuff, and like what if all that magic and stuff exists for a reason, and it's sort of like software in an imaginal realm, sort of that's informational, like cyber, and it's philosophically physical in a metaphysical sense, though that is real, essentially. And I feel like consciousness can very much so impress upon matter certain dynamics that are related to will, and it can shape reality. I feel like psychedelics and consciousness plus hypnosis may lead to some interesting discoveries about somnambulance, like sleepwalking, along with other things like technological developments that are based around exploring lucid dreaming. And I feel like probably most likely within humanity's probably like nearish future, like within 100 years, we'll probably sort out some pretty good lucid dream induction technology. I feel like if we can understand sleepwalkers well enough, we can maybe develop technology to stimulate the brain in a similar way. Like I was talking to ChatGPT, and maybe you can have some like magnetic resonance type, electromagnetic resonance type electrodes, or some bar like magnetic resonance, like bands powered by a battery and like snapbacks or something to stimulate the brain in a transcranial way. Like there have been studies that show mood improvements and like alleviating depression and stuff through magnetic stimulation of the brain, as well as I think inducing sort of similar states to meditation or dreaming, as far as I know. So that's like one potential project for wearables. um, I just feel like lucid dreaming can be used to create virtual overlays in the mind using basically software that's psychological in nature. So it's like perhaps you can manipulate intelligence and brains in order to utilize language in a way that allows you to metacognizantly program your own neurology in a way that utilizes the brain's capacities for dreaming, that is able to essentially render things to your field of view in a dreamlike sense or a dreamlike manner. So, like dream visual overlays or heads up displays, for example. I totally think that is definitely possible. And I think that, you know, with psychedelics, they have a place in academia outside of the um, psychotherapeutic clinical settings that I feel like they're most associated with in academia currently. I feel like, you know, like seriously, like a bunch of the world's brightest academicians, like intellectual scholars, getting together and like aiming to experiment with ingesting psychedelics like magic mushrooms with the intention of philosophically discussing things intellectually as you do in a place of learning, you know? And just being scholars with that within that context, so that'd probably mean having like IT and having goals for the session, like what do you want to work out, what do you want to discuss, like having it semi structured in that way, though you'd want the experience, it'd probably naturally be flowing in psychedelic in nature as well. So perhaps having like a facilitator in that mix that is kind of MC, like, like familiar with the psychedelic experience and the nature of what you'd be doing, which is sort of like a ceremony, like a knowledge based acquisition ceremony that involves psychedelics. And that was it the Ulyssean mysteries, or those mysteries in Greece that were potentially ergot influenced or like psychedelically influenced. That kind of thing makes sense. Like psychedelics, scrying, using psychedelics to attune to naturalistic patterns in nature that can be utilized for information gathering or insight, realistically speaking. But yeah, anyways, I'll probably just leave that log there, or vlog, and probably I'll upload it. And yeah, maybe I'll schedule regular vlogs. I've been doing things pretty organically, like just playing things by ear and as I see fit, which I think is a good way to shape up perhaps a schedule or like a routine, build it around your natural inclinations and then structure your IT systems around the facilitation of those behaviors that are natural for you, and I guess good business processes or a part of your business processes as a business person. So, you know, potentially I may be correct in saying that we are all business people and just existing in a way that keeps us busy. You know, those activities that we do that keep us busy may be able to fall into categories of business, and so, you know, it's like maybe we all are business people, and maybe a lot of prosperity can come to be in existence if everyone has their own business and that's facilitated by software in an automated way, and just like makes it really easy to exist as a business person. Though, yeah, I'll probably leave that vlog there. And yeah, do as I said. Peace.